Well, hello, John. Thank you
Hi,
for having this conversation with me today.
of course. That's what my day is all about.
I wanted to ask you a few questions. Perhaps we should start with the present. And I wanted to ask you what is Fabricators in your life today?
Yeah. So, Fabricatorz Foundation is a nonprofit based in the United States in St. Louis, Missouri. And it's both a set of projects that are hosted that have been created by the Fabricators ensemble of characters and people who've worked with uh, myself and others in the group. Right now, it's actually literally a 501c3 nonprofit in the US. And that's because if you work in these things at any time, there's usually money comes into the equation. So it's a way to be able to help facilitate artists and creative technologists to be able to generate work and do some challenging types of work. As I say, it's kind of not just research and development, but like art and development. So
So
that's the
you're
model
the,
behind it.
the, the facilitator, like the connection, the producer, we can say.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. We were at an art show in Los Angeles right when I got out of art school, right out of like my master's program at UC San Diego. I studied with like Barbara Kruger and Lev Manovich and Chaim
okay. I
Steinbach
didn't know
and
that.
Alan Capral and Sheldon Brown. And there was just this interesting
Awesome.
moment where I was, there with a lot of other people, and there was a lot of like free money floating around. So I went to this art opening in Los Angeles at this, I think it's called China Art Object. Doesn't exist anymore, I'm pretty sure. And I asked this
What
guy
what
who's like
year
my
was this? What year?
uh 2005 or
Okay.
2003, 2004. And I went to this thing, and everyone, oh, what do you do? You're outside this cool art space in Los Angeles, and this guy's like, I'm a fabricator for Charles Ray. And
Wow.
I just was like shocked by it. I was like, wow, I'm an artist, writer, director, business owner. I'm everything. It just seems so interesting to me that people would identify as this person who makes work for another person. So I think the next day I was in San Francisco. We had a grant application, and it was like, what should we call it? How do we take $5,000? And I was like, well, Fabricators. And where I'm from here in St. Louis, they slap a Z on everything. I just slapped a Z on it to make it clear that it was really a special organization.
You were a software and hardware developer, very focused on free culture. Yeah.
Yes, very much so. My first real project was an open source software called Inkscape. This project created all this work, and we were all these images, and clip art was the big thing that came
Yeah.
out from it. And from that, Creative Commons came out of that, and that's how I got connected into this whole free culture movement and meeting Professor Lawrence Lessig and so many other people who are really shaping the legal landscape of sharing.
And so, with all this background you have, with Creative Commons and all this producing and art and events and all these people, what happens now with all that?
Yeah, what happens now with blockchain and sharing is well, it's interesting because there's always a kind of technology innovation curve, and there's those people who are developing the technology, and there's kind of a distinction between the experimenters and then the developers, the people doing work, and then those who are also like the business people who are kind of in stable operations. And I think what you see is you'll see a lot of people who are involved in. There's some key people who are involved in Creative Commons who kept innovating and kept moving around the world and kept sharing and are now inside of crypto and blockchain technology companies. But you also see those people who are experimenting; those are still there. And then you see the developers, and those are people who are maybe a little more technically minded, And Argentina has like, Buenos Aires has a huge cluster of amazing blockchain and crypto talent. And then you have the business side too, which is like people looking at optimizing for profit. And I think what you see now is the scene's been around for 10 plus years. So you start to see kind of various casino-like games, and you see kind of some things you might associate with like, corruption or disgust with all the kind of profiteering. I saw that this artist Beeple, who sold his work for $79 million, his Twitter account got hacked, and in that like 10 minutes that it got hacked, like somebody set up a scam and made about $70,000 off of it. Yeah, further than there were people who got hacked because they just believed that he was an artist. They got hacked and they just followed it up and were like, "Hey, can you like help us out? You're now like a really rich artist." And then there was this kind of silence from there. Maybe it's developed since then, but it's just kind of interesting to think through, like, this is some artist who is totally not making any money, and boom, he's now like, I think second or third. There's some paintings that just sold at auction there was a Basquiat that sold and a Warhol that might have replaced the numbers, but he was like second or third in most expensive artworks. And so like, I mean, this is a lot of money that changes people's lives, and if they have to learn how to deal with that amount of money, I think that you could look at crypto as digital cash. I think that is a new thing that has not existed before. So, it's like cash can be anonymous, right? Like crypto, like let's say Bitcoin can be anonymous, but there are some added features to crypto that gives it something that didn't exist then. So, money was not in the equation for money, as in like fiat currency, like USD was not in the equation for Creative Commons. And we tried desperately. One of my projects was called CC Plus, and it was like we were trying to add money into the equation, specifically, and people looked at Creative Commons as a, the community really looked at Creative Commons as a reaction to profiteering and the horrible things that go along with it. So there was some kind of rebellion to it, and still to this day, there's still some rebellion. Creative Commons is staying really far away from cryptocurrency because the community is saying like, this is not what we want. But the truth is the digitization of money is happening. The fire is out of the box. So if you don't recognize those cycles, then you can all of a sudden become irrelevant. And it will not be impossible for, I hate to say these things out loud because once you say it, then it happens, right? It wouldn't be hard what happens in crypto oftentimes is what I learned when I lived in China. Somebody comes along and they say, I can't access this here. Oh, I'll just make it myself. And then they make it themselves, and then they get like way more money, and then their project is then more relevant. And Wikipedia is also at the same place right now. There's absolutely going to be a replacement of Wikipedia because Wikipedia denies money. They deny the advertising dollars. They if they just added advertising to Wikipedia, they would make some huge number like $500 million a year, something like this. And it's like, it takes away all the problems and, of being able to have this money. But then yet again, you go back into the circle of like, we shouldn't take money or whatever. But the thing about crypto is that it's consuming the finance world, and it's also technological innovation. Therefore, crypto projects, money is like at the foundation of it. So it's like you can't deny it. It's like oxygen.
So you mentioned China. What is this crypto world over there like today?
Yeah. Well, right now, crypto is supposedly banned in China. So somewhere in the pandemic, China banned cryptocurrencies. Really, they were targeting mining, but they also are targeting crypto. And the reason why is because it's a threat to the centralized top-down governmental structure in China. And also because China has its own currency called the digital yuan. And the digital yuan's goal is really to bridge Hong Kong and China's currencies. So right now, every government is will have their own currency. There'll be a digital dollar. It looks like Tezos is the currency that's really being supported by Europe. And this is because
of this ecological approach.
Ecological, but it's wildly inefficient, the current systems of transferring money. And like there's another currency that's probably more likely the Chinese currency it looks like there's approval given to it called USDT TRC20, which is run by one guy named Justin Sun. So, this is happening. So if you deny it, then you deny yourself. So, you see El Salvador with Bitcoin as legal tender. I mean, the US is so far taken a very measured approach, and we'll see what happens. I wrote an essay about this. It's if we want peace in the world, then we have to be able to trade. And whenever people stop trading is equivalent to not talking. So these digital currencies are a way to transact more efficiently and with conversation. Money was created as an abstraction. First, there was social relationships. So if you ever want to make money, you just need to talk more. You need to take care of your relationships. And, this is just the way it was. People traded first, and then came along a way to take that. And when relationships increased in number, then there was shells that were used, right? And then the money was abstracted into that. And that's the basis for money. The word art, which is wildly misunderstood and misconstrued, but really, if you think about it, I was sitting at the end of my time in education and, formal education. And I was seeing it, and it just struck me. I was like, art is short for artifact. It's just a short word. So art is just the things that culture left behind. So for me, it allowed me to contextualize art as always being behind what's happening in culture.
Okay. That's a retro perspective.
Or wrong, completely wrong. One person's learnings is another person's misunderstandings.
What do you think about these people you brought here? We have Paul Gusardo, we have Clement Renault, Lionel Radisson, Jay Sushil, and Andrew McLuhan. All came with you, I think,
yes,
as a producer. And I wanted to ask you about this particular group of people, and what do you think about this connection?
Yeah, well, if the global travel situation was better, I would be down there right now with eating steaks and having some of this amazing Argentinian wine. I love Buenos Aires, and it's just such a different vibe than here in St. Louis. People in the U.S. is seems like some digging, always digging, working, digging. And there are people, I feel like, the community of people in the community of life is full of high quality interactions. And I love that. So thank you for having us, first of all, and look forward to the next time back. So Clement Renault and Lionel Radisson are both friends of mine, and they're both at the cutting edge. And Clement is the foremost expert in the world on Chinese technology. Lionel is the doing the leading edge crypto NFT art. He just did another drop. It made it's still going up. The initial drop sold out in about 10-15 minutes. And
wow.
It made 250,000 equivalent USD. Now it's up to about 500,000 just in a couple days. And it's not about the money. It's just this is you say this an artist who's been putting in his time for 10, 15 years in Lyon, and has created an entire scene of creative technologists there that are generative artists that, let's just see what's going to happen there. So Clement and Lionel together are leading edge. Their Slashers project is the most cutting edge generative artwork right now that exists.
We are
then,
having this
yeah,
this connection with generative art.
yes,
Here in this event, we have the presence of Rejane Cantoni from Brazil, but
yes,
also at the same time an event of generative art of Argentinians and is
amazing,
going on here in Buenos Aires. So I think
amazing.
that's the point
Oh
in
yes,
understanding the relationship between art and blockchain
yes.
somehow.
Oh, brilliant. I
Generative
mean,
art.
and the other part about this is Clement and Lionel are both from France, and the first generative and female, not just female, but first really computer artist, in my opinion, is Vera Molnar, who's 94, and she's in the Venice Biennale right now. So there's there's always, and this is Marshall McLuhan stuff. There's the new media always consumes the old media, right? So the old media is this visual art and visual computer art, but the new media is crypto, and so the native crypto art is actually generative art. So it allows for a recontextualizing of this entire history of generative artists now, which is, back to your point about how artists and how they survive and whatever. And Vera did an NFT drop 94 at the Venice Biennale, just amazing. Of course, that leads to Andrew McLuhan, who's super important because he's continuing the work, not just the work of his grandfather, but also the work of his father, Eric McLuhan, who also he was born in St. Louis, and Marshall McLuhan did his first real formative work here in St. Louis. His PhD student was Walter Ong. So we've got this like crazy history that's being woven, and Andrew is continuing this from the McLuhan Institute. Then of course we have Sushil, who is Jay Sushil. We also call him Jay. Jay's work is very interesting, from the BBC and from India, and he's contextualizing this archive that's so powerful and important of Imran Khan. And we've just begin to open this archive up and start to understand it and what the impact is, and the concept that Sanskrit is a programming language that's also language itself is very radical. And we got to ask ourselves, look at the CEOs, top CEOs, the big technology firms are from India, Twitter, Google. And if we look at like these innovators like Jack Dorsey, Steve Jobs, they're both so heavily impacted by India. So I think it's important to understand the culture and why this culture and everything that's gone along with it has impacted technologists so much. And then of course we got Paul Gazzardo, and Paul is also, I met Paul. I met him at the first event that for me decided that I was going to move all my projects to my home, which is St. Louis, the home of Jack Dorsey, the home of the underdog sports teams, the Cardinals, the hockey, the Blues, home of barbecue Blues, Miles Davis.
We don't know much about
Turner.
hockey here.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to come up here anytime. Okay, we've got.
I know you. Escape from LA was made there, so that's.
That's also right. That's also
that's
right.
Very important.
And we have something called the City Museum, which is an amazing compound created by the late artist Bob Castley. That's right behind Paul Gazzardo's first internet-connected club, Kabul. The iceberg, a lot of it's been under the ocean, but now it's becoming above ground. So Paul is the dot maker, the dot collector, the facilitator of facilitators, and he's an amazing individual, and I'm happy to call him my friend as well. There we go.
What's that? POEX.
Exactly. It's a tetraba. POEX is a proof of existence. The original
proof of existence.
The original creator of proof of existence is a gentleman from Argentina who founded a project called Open Zeppelin named Manuel.
Really?
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't know
right.
that.
Yeah, that's right.
I think
That's how
not many people knows that. What's his name?
Manuel, last name is hard for me to pronounce because I'm a Guaylo from here, from St. Louis.
Manuel
Manuel, Araoz. Yeah.
Arauz.
Yes.
Manuel Arauz.
Manuel is he's really like a young fabricator. Like if I was like not 42, actually today is my birthday when you guys are seeing this. So whenever you see this, I have turned 43. So he's an amazing guy, and in the future we have to include him in all of our things. He's written the code, and he made basically the standard for NFTs. And his project, one of his other projects is called Decentraland, which is the largest crypto metaverse project. You have so many people there. You also have some innovators and technologists and hardware there too. These guys are working hard, right? Like whenever I brought Clement, actually, we were working on proof of existence, and that was the first time for me to Argentina. We flew there, and we went to Ethereum Buenos Aires. It was a big summit, and it was just so much innovation, so many innovators from the region, and some who traveled in. And it was just mind-blowing, really mind-blowing, because these guys were working around the clock. And it reminds you of any early scenes you've seen, like jazz scene in the 20s and St. Louis, or the free culture scenes were like this too. We'd fly all around the world and meet people.
Great. This is new. Yeah. This is new for me. So this will be in this video.
Then this is an introduction.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, perhaps that can be the introduction. Okay, yeah. We have now like 30 plus minutes of talk.
There you go.
And it was great.
Thank you. Thank you for your time as well. I'll share this with you next after this.
We will see each other live in Saturday on your birthday.
Great. So, okay, brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.